track at the World, we are tied. Look at this. He's slammed it forward. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Dropping a big leg. Over for the cover. It's over. Unbelievable.
High fly ball into right field. She is gone. Austin, he got it. The starter. Mike Tyson in. Austin is the champion. Stone Cold. Stone Cold. Stone Cold. Now the 2-2. Well hit down the left field line. Way back in.
Touch them all, Joe. You'll never hit a bigger home run in your life.
Oh my God, no! Mankind did it! Nick Foley did it! No, Stone Cold did it! Mankind has achieved his dream and the dream of everyone else who's been told you can't do it! No! You can't do it! You can't do it! No matter what, got money on my mind, I can never get enough. And every time I step up in the building, everybody hands go up.
North South Connection Podcast Network. Welcome to the Test Lovin' Nerdin' Out WWE WAR podcast. JT and Marcus coming at you here. And of course, if you're watching us on video, welcome to our YouTube channel. And if you're listening, welcome to any podcast application where you searched us by finding us via the North South Connection name. And you should subscribe to both because we do have content. While a lot of it is simulcast, we do have exclusives to each feed as well. So to sub to both, and you can go ahead and be up to date on everything we got to offer, as well as our social media too. So Marcus, like I mentioned, it is the nerdiest show we got going on here. We are watching and breaking down every single WWE pay-per-view in history in a seasonal format, which means we start with the first pay-per-view following WrestleMania in any given year. For this season, we started with Crown Jewel 2018, and we end with WrestleMania the following calendar year, and that is WrestleMania 35 for this season. We like it that way because it really feels like it's the full WWE year. They build toward Mania. Mania is the culmination, and then we start a new season, and we'll jump around. We are watching these and grading them all on a plus-minus system in a series of categories. So if you think of the most average wrestling moment, show, crowd, etc., that is your baseline. Anything that occurs on a show that's better than that baseline gets a plus. Anything that was worse gets a minus. We net that all out, and that gives us our total WAR score. We also watch and grade every match, obviously. And we take Marcus's grade, we take my grade, we take that average, and then we do a plus minus from 2.5, which would be the kind of most routine average match you can get. So if our total combined score is a 4, that's a plus 1.5 for that particular match. Then we kind of add those up. So that's the match grade category, Marcus. But what are the other categories that we talk about on the show?
We talk about build, commentary, the atmosphere of the event, notable moments and importance, our match grades, the card structure, rewatchability, and all-time matches. And for an all-time match to be a plus, it is anything we both agree is 4.25 and above. And for it to be a minus, it is a match we both agree is 0.75 and below.
All right. All right. So why don't we go ahead and dive into our first show tonight? It is not one I can say we've been looking forward to, but we got to get through it. It is our second Saudi Arabia show of the season. Look, it can't be worse, I don't think, than Greatest Royal Rumble, which is our currently ranked 100th on our list, the worst show that we've done in all the pay-per-views we watched. It's at negative 17 change.
Okay.
Really, really bad. So let's see how Crown Jewel does, if it follows up any better. So this took place November 2nd, 2018 from, you're going to have to check me on the pronunciation here. The other one was Jeddah. This is
Riyadh?
Riyadh? Was it Riyadh?
Yeah, just Riyadh.
Riyadh. Saudi Arabia, the King Saud University Stadium. We had Michael Cole, Corey Graves, and Renee Young on commentary. Our special guest host is the Terry man himself, Hulk Hogan. We could talk about how wise it was to have him host a foreign show with Real American blaring in a minute. But as is, let's get to the card. We had a dark match, or a pre-show match, where Shinsuke Nakamura defended his United States Championship against Rusev. And then we head into the World Cup tournament, which they decided to hold a tournament on the show. And we have the full brackets here. So we get 8 guys in the tournament. We're going to get the full tournament on this card. We open with our first quarterfinal match, and that is Rey Mysterio defeating Randy Orton by pinfall at 5 minutes and 30 seconds. I'd call this an upset, Rey beating him on this show.
Yeah, Orton's been pretty strong. I went 2.5. Didn't really feel like they were trying, but cool.
Yeah.
Like, easy, good work. Our next tournament match was Jeff Harvey taking on Mike The Miz. I went 2.5 for this matchup as well.
And The Miz wins. So to me, that's another kind of surprise, I guess. And I should mention, I went 2.25 on the opener. 2 3/4 for this. I liked it. I think I would have reversed these two. I would have had Hardy win, Orton win, and give us a rematch of Hell in a Cell to go on here. But as is, whatever. Well, I guess you need a Miz to win for the storyline, but whatever. All right. Next up is our third quarterfinal match, and that is Seth Rollins defeating Big Bob Lashley, who's got Leo Rush now as a spokesman in his corner. I like this. It was 2 3/4 for me. Again, it's quick. It's just 5.5 minutes, but it had a little zip to it, and Lashley's much better suited as a heel during the stretch. So hopefully we're going to start to see him get on track a little bit.
Bobby, hit him with the pose. I went 2 3/4 as well. Our next match, our final, I guess, opening round match on the Raw side of the bracket was Kurt Angle. Unfortunately, not Perk Angle. This is Kurt Angle taking on Dolph Ziggler. They really hyped up the amateur feel of this match, and I went 2 3/4 as well.
Yeah, Dolph wins. It was cool that they put Angle in here. He's kind of been semi-active through most of 18, wrestled here and there. So it's fine. If they're always going to throw some legends on these cards, so why not put him in there? Ziggler goes over strong, so fine. All right, so that brings it into the quarterfinals. Up next, we had our SmackDown Tag Team title match yet again, as the New Day lose to the Bar, who retain their titles. We have Big Show seconding the Bar because, of course, anything that's any good or has any kind of heat, the Big Show is going to be inserted into the picture. This was fine, maybe a little lower than you would hope, given who's in it and where they're at in their careers, but I went at 3. This felt a little bit like a throwaway. If you're trying to shrink this card down yet again, this is a match you probably could have left off.
Yeah, it's probably the floor for these guys. I went with a 3 as well. Our next match is another tournament match, as it is Rey Mysterio taking on Mike The Miz. Miz picks up the win here and continues to be a bit of an upset. Moving on through the tournament, I went 2.5.
And you're starting to look at the brackets and figuring we're going to get Rollins, Miz in the finals, right? You're thinking, well, we're not going to do heel. Weird bracketing. I went 2.5 as well on this. It was fine. It's average. Miz advances to the finals. Our other semifinal did see Seth Rollins take on Dolph Ziggler, but Ziggler gets the win. So I went 3 stars on this. So we get a heel main event of the tournament with Seth Rollins. With the Miz taking off Dolph Ziggler. Odd presentation, odd decision. We'll see where it goes in a minute. So 3 for me as well on that.
Yep, 3 for me too. Next up is for the WWE Championship, as it is once again AJ Styles taking on Samoa Joe. I went 3 1/4, and I think mercifully this is it for the series.
This is it. This is the end of the feud. Yeah, it's 3 1/4 from me. I can't believe we're happy for this feud to end. I would have again, a potential dream feud for the world title, AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, and WWE. What the hell? And they've been living in this 3 1/4 to 3 3/4 range. So 3 1/4 for me as well. Goes 11 minutes. And this is pretty much it. They just kind of throw Joe out there one last time. All right, our Universal title match is next, and it's a little bit of a mix-up here. The title was vacated because Roman Reigns, before the show, had to make his announcements that his leukemia, I guess he had been living with it, right? And then it just kind of flared up, or he had to go get treatment, right? Didn't he say he had it for a number of years?
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
And it wasn't an issue, and then, you need to go take care of it again.
Yeah, so he forfeits the title. So they put it the vacated title line between Brock Lesnar and Braun Strowman. They go 3 minutes. Brock wins, no shock. They always go back to Brock when any time of tumultuousness or trouble. So Brock is back to being our Universal Champion. I'm at 1.5 on this match, just basically a squash. I don't know what else they could have done to get it back on Brock. I would have maybe made the tournament suddenly for the belt, and then Brock just comes out during the finals and wipes out both guys and takes the belt or something. Could have been cool. Instead, you're basically sacrificing Strowman.
Yeah. This is like the third, maybe fourth time Strowman's been heated up, and the fans are kind of ready for him to take the title, and they take it away again. So they just mess with his booking too much for him to be taken seriously as a top guy. So
yeah,
1.5 for me. And when in doubt, just remember that Brock Lesnar don't hop on no planes to do no jobs.
That's right. He's not flying across the world to lose.
No. Our finals of the Best in the World tournament is Mike the Miz taking on Dolph Ziggler. But wait, before the match starts, Miz and Ziggler get into it. They start brawling. Miz goes to doing a double axe handle on the outside, and jams his knee. And Dolph Ziggler is going to win, but Shane McMahon says, no, can't happen like that. So we get Shane McMahon taking on Dolph Ziggler, and Shane McMahon is the winner of the Best in the World tournament. I went 1.5.
This is a stupid mess. I hated every aspect of it. I love Shane pre-comeback. Post-16 Shane, I am not a fan of. I find it to be very diminishing returns. I did not need him being involved in this match. And winning Best in the World, like, it's just stupid. The angle that comes out of it, I'm not a fan of either, where him and Miz will see end up, being Best of the Worlds. But I went 0.5 star. I thought this was trash. I really didn't like it from Ziggler's point of view either. Like, he's been booked really strong in the fall with the McIntyre team and the Shield. IC title feud with Rollins was really good. And now he's like losing to Shane in this tournament. It's just real shit show. It's almost like Vince didn't make the trip, and Shane was like, "Oh well, if Dad's not here, I'm gonna get in and get crazy with things." Stupid decision, stupid end. Not as stupid as our main event, perhaps, which is Shawn Michaels and Triple H taking on The Undertaker and Kane. It is Shawn Michaels' first match since WrestleMania 26, and also his last match. He comes out of retirement to have this tag war. Just like last time that Triple H and Taker fought at Super Showdown, they go 28 minutes in this tag. It's exactly what you'd expect it to be. I know you're not a Shawn guy, but I thought Shawn was the best part of the match. He worked his butt off and still had it. The other guys could all plod along. It's definitely a mess. DX wins. Taker and Kane are pretty much presented as heels in this too. But these guys are all pretty much iced. Like, they're all cooked and gonna be done. I went 1 3/4, and that was feeling very generous.
Yeah, I'll say something nice about Mr. Heartbreak. When he puts his whatever political issues aside, backstage or whatever, he can be really good even in a retired state. Like, he dragged this match, he willed this match above being all-time bad.
Yeah.
So 1.25 for me. It's bad, but going back and rewatching it, it's not the train wreck that I remember it being. There's still a baseline of
it's just too long, just like everything else.
Yeah, it's too long. It's too long. But even with the injuries and everything, it still ends up being like, not all-time bad.
All right, so that's a total war score of -1. Pretty bad, right? For Evolution, we were at an 8. This is negative, pretty much the exact opposite. So a real bad in-ring show. Let's get to the categories. So build, we gave them a point for the World Cup concept. Brings in some upper mid-carders, blends in feuds and qualifying matches. So we actually went a 2 on the concept of it. Like, putting on this one-night tournament was a good idea. A point for the Bar, regaining the tag titles over New Day on SmackDown 1000 to head on to the show. A point for Joe and Styles and their feud rolling on, shifts away from the family stuff finally, gets more focused on the fight. And then a point for the DX Brothers Destruction feud. I mean, the build was fine. It's set up in the Aussie show. They had a showdown on Raw. Like, there's at least something to it. It's not just like a thrown together Legends match.
Yeah, I wish they'd gotten to the Joe Styles competitive angle of the feud a lot sooner. Would have helped. But let's get into the minuses. We've got Reigns, like we talked about, having to forfeit the title due to the cancer diagnosis. Thankfully, he's going to be back not too long after this. Just two guys put together to fight for it, in Braun and Brock. Big Show being shoehorned with the bar.
Why do they always stick him in these angles?
Yeah, and he always cools him off. And then Corbin as acting GM. Just kind of silly nonsense, especially since they never really do anything with like him capitalizing like his position of power. He's still like a bumbling idiot. So that's it for the minuses.
All right, so +2 for build, so not bad. Commentary, we did a point for them doing a fine job explaining Rollins' recent struggles. His mind may not be focused. Everything going on with Reigns and the Shield and everything. So Ambrose, this is like there's a lot going on for him, so he's got a lot to juggle.
For the minuses for commentary, Graves and Renee, way too much fake arguing all throughout the show. Doesn't have a natural old school flow. No. Doesn't feel conversational. Doesn't feel natural.
Her calling him Graves constantly drives me nuts too. Come on, Graves. It's just like, ugh.
Yeah. Like they can't. You can't say anything on this commentary team without like somebody cutting in and trying to one up you, or just flat out disagreeing with what you said. Yeah. For the sake of arguing. Cole saying Orton is attacking Ray because he was embarrassed. Even though Orton is clearly upset about being eliminated, he's not like embarrassed. Graves way too over the top in his message board style defense and trolling. And then Cole and Graves they really freeze out Renee as the show goes on, especially during the main event. It's like when Oklahoma City Thunder froze Reggie Jackson, I think, when passing the ball for a couple of games. That's what it felt like in the main event. I forgot she was on the call.
-4 for commentary, so that's more in line with the season. Atmosphere, gave it a point for the amazing set, the arena, the graphics, that little magical Aladdin sparkle when they pop up. That was cool. A point for Hogan. He's the host, and he gets a big pop when he comes out, which is crazy. A point for the fantastic Orton entrance. It felt epic when he came out. A point for Kurt Angle's entrance to get the full "you suck" engagement and all that. A point for New Day. They come out on the magic carpet. That was really cool. A point for the crowd vibe with AJ and Joe was actually really good. They had a nice buzz through that match. A point for the big pop for DX's entrance, and a point for the big hot Undertaker entrance, and a point for the crowd just being lit. As much as we showed on that main event, the crowd was super into it. This crowd felt much more wrestling oriented than Greatest Royal Rumble that felt like forced, papered. This one felt like they actually kind of knew. Maybe they've been following more since the last one, but it seemed like there was a lot more engagement. It felt more like a wrestling crowd than like an exhibition-y spectacle crowd.
Yeah. I think it reflects in our minus category too. There's the cavernous feel to the arena leads up to a lot of like awkward signs for long stretches of the card, which doesn't help the matches. Doesn't help them get to like the next level. No reaction for GM Shane, and then the crowd dead for the Miz Dolph heel dynamic. But overall, it's not too bad on atmosphere for the season.
5. No, it's solid. Kind of honestly carries things on the show. Notable moments. Notable moments, we gave one to Renee Young getting to do commentary, and obviously it was a battle early on, given their standards and expectations with females. So getting Renee to be able to call the show was a big deal at the time. A point for Miz beating Hardy and Mysterio clean. They're really rehabbing him after the Bryan feud, so that's pretty good work, notable there for him. A point for Lesnar winning the Universal title, and we went 3 points for this final main event, because you get Shawn's first match from WrestleMania 26 retirement. It's a big deal. Layered on top of the first ever match actually between DX and Taker and Kane, which you think those four would have crossed paths at some point as the teams, but they hadn't. So we gave them the full historical +3 for those two things.
Yeah. For the minuses, we've got Orton loses easily during his Psycho push. That was a bummer to see. We got Shane winning the Best in the World tournament. It's just useless. The women still can't wrestle on the show during the Revolution era after like the women's pay-per-view.
They just had their own pay-per-view 2 weeks ago.
Just had the pay-per-view about like
and they're left off the show.
And so and I remember that was a hot button issue at the time too.
So -3 for that. That alone brings us to a 1 for the category. That really took away from this. So match grades was a -1. Card structure, never a strong suit of this season. We give a point to Orton attacking Mysterio, which sets up the show long through line of Mysterio being banged up. A point for the pre-match inset promos from everyone. In-ring, intros with, kind of with their resumes as well. Nice touch for a foreign show with some new fans. And then a point for Rollins and Ziggler getting back together after their feud earlier in the year.
Yep. For our minuses, opening with bad Terry. He's lost his luster. He's lost his fastball and his changeup. Nearly 15 minutes of gaga, brother, before a match bell rings to start the show. Weird heel attorney finals. The finish feels like a house show. Quick and anticlimactic all night. The Miz injury and Shane and Corbin arguing derails the whole pace of the show.
And this show was better paced than most in the season. It was better than Greatest Royal Rumble. I think it's like almost like an hour and a half shorter, if I remember. Right? It's much tighter. We don't have the prayer break. We don't have the panel. We don't have all the video. Like, it was definitely a little bit. There's way less propaganda, so it was like much tighter. Like, this felt more like a normal event of this season versus like the Saudi Super Show that we had in April. So credit and points for that. But yeah, stuff like the Shane and Corbin just slowed it way down when it was kind of moving along nicely.
Yeah, too much sports entertainment, pal. Not done yet with the minuses. We got DX and the Brothers Destruction. They should have been on earlier. They should have opened the show like Greatest Royal Rumble, and then you close with your current stars. The video package for the Old Man War starts with 45 minutes left in the show. So I guess that's an improvement on Super Showdown. And you get Shawn's return for this match. Not worth blowing up his perfect ending at WrestleMania 26, or at least make it count better.
Right.
And they didn't make it count here.
All right, so -5 for card structure. Rough setup. Rewatchability, we'll see. We just gave 1 point. No more propaganda arc with hype segments. It just felt like that. Like I said, a standard 2018 bloated show versus just the weird, awkward, everyone feeling like they're forced to gunpoint hype session that Greatest Royal Rumble was.
For our minuses, we got starting the show desperately with Hogan and Real American blaring in the Middle East. That was certainly a decision. We've got the Miz injury and all this stuff with Shane. Just kills what was a passable show and was really humming along up until then. Shane continues to be brutal in 2018, -3 for that whole package. Shane's punches, the
brutal.
The bald and lazy-eyed Shawn Michaels wrestling it's off-putting, and then they make like the action figure of him too from the show.
Yeah.
It look like Shawn almost dying when nobody catches him off the top rope, moonsault to the floor.
Like, this poor guy came out of retirement.
Yeah.
And then you let him die on the floor out here.
He's 175 pounds. Catch
Right.
him. And then terrible Triple H pedigree on Kane to end it. Again, he's persevering through the torn pec, but he's calling audible, guys.
-7 for rewatchability. It's not a rewatchable show. No all-time matches. They avoided an all-time bad, so credit, I guess. But, Marcus, that gives us a total war score of -9. So, not good, but it is like almost 8 points better than Crown Jewel. I mean, Greatest Royal Rumble. So, I guess progress
Improvement,
there. Yeah. And I don't think it's us just like nitpicking the Saudi stuff. Like, I went into this one with an open mind. I'm like, I like the presentation of it. I like the structure better, but it's just still so much just bad in there. So that puts it as our 101st worst show of all time, at -9. The Greatest Royal Rumble is the only show below it at -17.25. So, yeah, not great.
No. Show was humming along up until I felt like the last handful of matches. You get all this stuff with Shane, you get all the Corbin nonsense, and then you get the old man fight.
Yeah, and I should say too, this is tied with Over the Limit 2011. So that was also a -9, but we gave the nod to to Over the Limit because that
you got Orton and Christian, right?
Yeah, and that's the best match of the two. So I should say this is actually our 100th ranked show. I was off on that. We've done 101 so far. Greatest Rumble's our worst at 101. This is 100. So there you go. But yes, Orton, Christian at Over the Limit makes the tiebreaker there. So Wrestling Classic just above those at -6. Night of Champions 11 at -3. WrestleMania 11 at -0.75. Those are our negatives. That's all we got for negatives. So 2 of the 6 negatives are the 2 Saudi shows from this season. All right. let's see if we can turn the juju around here. We're going to go to Survivor Series 2018.
Are you ready?
To close out the Survivor Series. To close out the night here. So let me go ahead and pull this up. This took place on November 18th from the Staples Center in Los Angeles. Our announced team, Michael Cole, Renee Young, and Corey Graves for Raw. Tom Phillips, Byron Saxton, and Corey Graves for SmackDown. And then we get Vic Joseph, Nigel McGuinness, and Percy Watson for our Cruiserweight title match from 205 Live. So a lot of commentary here, teams. We have a 22-minute pre-show match, Marcus. It's Team SmackDown featuring the Usos, The New Day, Sanity, Gallows and Anderson, and the Colognes. Defeats Team Raw, which was Bobby Roode and Chad Gable, The Revival, the B Team, the Lucha House Party, and Ascension. So there you go. 22-minute, 10-on-10 Survivor Series Classic match on the pre-show. So not bad way to start the show, I guess.
One for the good guys.
We then get into our women's Survivor Series match, which is Team Raw versus Team SmackDown as well. And that is Mickie James, Tamina, Nia Jax, Sasha Banks, and Bayley taking on Naomi, Carmella, Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville, and Asuka. And Team Raw wins that, which is the Sasha team I mentioned a minute ago. So Mickie, Nia, Tamina, Bayley, Sasha in just under 19 minutes. Alexa Bliss is the manager of that team. She's injured, so they're having her just kind of be the captain. It was, again, fine, whatever. I went 2 3/4. So solid opener. You get all the women showcased off of Evolution, making it feel important that you get them all on the card.
Yep, just a tick higher for me. I went with 3. Our next match is champion versus champion. We have our Intercontinental Champion Seth Rollins taking on Shinsuke Nakamura.
And most of these are all these champion matches are all like non-title, we should say. It's just kind of best versus best.
It's all about brand supremacy, pal.
Yes.
But these guys have a great match. I went 3.75.
Yeah. I am with you at a 4. I thought this was actually really good. When you look at the grades, like, Hell in a Cell was very good in ring. This show's up there with it. We haven't had much great in-ring action throughout the season. But this is definitely one of the better matches we've seen, I think, consistency-wise. So, yeah, I mean, they go, 22 minutes. It's a nice bounce back for Nakamura, too, who has, kind of been a little MIA a bit. Like, he's been on, but not, like, in meaty stuff since the AJ feud. So it was cool to see him here and kind of get like a classic showing against Rollins. So nice little hidden gem, I thought, on that match. Up next, we have, I believe, another champions match. It is the Raw Tag Team Champions versus the SmackDown Tag Team Champions as the Authors of Pain, Akam and Razar, defeat The Bar. Clean in 9 minutes. Drake Maverick was with AOP, of course. Big Show, naturally, with The Bar. I went 2.5. I feel like The Bar has been scuffling. They're one of my favorite teams ever, but I haven't been like super thrilled with their last few outings. Like those 2 New Day matches we talked about were kind of whatever. And then this is like they're losing to the AOP. I know the AOP were presented strong, but The Bar is like one of the best teams ever. And I don't know, this didn't feel like anything too
They're
hot.
a rare case of an act going to SmackDown and not like getting better. They really book them.
Yeah,
a lot of like no-win situations. So I went 2.5 as well, which is pretty standard. Up next, we have a cruiserweight title match as
the only title on the line tonight.
Oh wow! Buddy Murphy successfully defends against Mustafa Ali. I went 3.5.
Yeah, 12 minutes, 3.5 for me too. Like we talked about last episode, I like Buddy's cruiserweight title reign a lot, and they gave him some good opponents. So he's delivered now. He's 2 for 2 on pay-per-view with really good cruiserweight title matches. So, all right, we have our other Survivor Series style tag match with Team Raw versus Team SmackDown. We have for the men's this time, Dolph Ziggler, Drew McIntyre, Braun Strowman, Finn Balor, and Bobby Lashley defeat Team SmackDown, which is The Miz, of course, fucking Shane McMahon, Rey Mysterio, Samoa Joe, and Jeff Hardy. I feel like this Hardy run is a little forgotten how much involved he was in a lot of these big pay-per-views and matches. Like he's since the return, because Matt's kind of fallen off with the deleter world stuff, but Jeff's really been heavily featured. So I went 2 3/4. I'd say disappointing when you look at the talent involved in it. They give him the time, 24 minutes, but it just felt like they didn't I feel like a Survivor match with this type of talent should be like a minimum 3.5, like all day, you know?
Yeah, fell short of that for me as well. I went with a 3. Yeah, nothing really to write home about as far as I'm concerned. But we do close the show with a bang. Our last 2 matches. We have Ron Rousey taking on Charlotte Flair, who is replacing the man Becky Lynch. Of course, this is the infamous face breaker incident with Nia Jax and the invasion on SmackDown, or the invasion of SmackDown on Raw. We'll get to that in a little bit. But Charlotte Flair is stepping in here. Rousey's going to win by DQ when Charlotte gets flustered and loses her cool with the kendo stick, and then
beats the shit out of her. Yeah,
an all-time assault on Ron Rousey. I went 4.5 for the match, which was outstanding, and then the package I can only describe as a slightly lesser version of like Eddie and JBL from Judgment Day. Like, it's missing the all-time play job. Some of it, but like the intensity isn't that far off.
No, it's great.
This is a really good segment.
I went 4. I mean, it's a great match. It's definitely one of those ones that lives up to its reputation. And yeah, this is the Becky getting busted open. So really, this is where it elevates Becky here. Like, she had already been pretty over since SummerSlam with the heel turn of the title reign, but this is what really supercharges her push. The infamous, shot of her standing with the cut off SmackDown tank top and the bloody broken nose, still fighting with the bloody nose. So this really, really puts her on the map all the way up to Mania. So yeah, 4 for me. Great match. And then we have an awesome main event. Brock Lesnar defeats Daniel Bryan in a champions match, because Daniel Bryan is our new WWE champion. We'll talk about in a second, but he defeated AJ Styles and ended his epic title reign on SmackDown. So Bryan, this was supposed to be AJ and Brock. Bryan takes the spot, and it's kind of a dream match we never thought we'd get, because we thought Bryan's career was over. We do get it here, and it delivers. I went 4.5 on this one.
Yeah, 4.25 for me. And this is where Bryan really starts my favorite section of his WWE work. There's always something just a little bit off for me with his WWE work, but right here, I really start to get in that pocket. So this is fantastic way to close the show with these last 2 matches.
All right. And a great in-ring show, 7.25, which is really, really strong for us. So, all right, let's get to our categories for build. Daniel Bryan going heel, winning the world title. He ends AJ's long reign. We get a dream match with Lesnar. I went +3 on that. Like, I think you hit everything here, right? Daniel going back to heel, world title reign. AJ's had an epic reign that comes to an end, plus the Lesnar build. So, boom. 3 points for Bloody Becky as well. That's an iconic moment, iconic shot. And again, it leads us to Charlotte Ronda here. A point for the AOP and Drake arriving on Raw to win the tag titles. A point for Mustafa Ali defeating Tony Nese to get the title match against Buddy Murphy, who's been dominating 205 Live. A point for Lashley's heel turn to become the Almighty. That was much needed. And then a point for Charlotte Rousey coming out of the Bloody Becky injury. So that was, a pretty good replacement if you had to have one.
Yeah. For the minuses, we've got the build suffering due to random brand versus brand slotting. And then the Shane and the Miz co-best in the world stuff. It just has Shane way too involved.
Too much Shane. We saw it earlier. We didn't talk about this season, but earlier this calendar year with the Shane versus Owens and Zayn, just like the worst stuff of Owens and Zayn's career was with Shane earlier this year. So this was some of the worst shit ever on SmackDown. But that said, +8 for build. It was a very well built show.
Yeah.
Commentary, a point for a good job on 205 Live commentary, pushing Ali's climb back into the Cruiserweight title picture since WrestleMania. A point for the crowd being red hot during, actually, I guess that should be in our atmosphere, but it probably all adds up anyway. A point for the crowd being red hot during Ronda and Charlotte. That'll shift atmosphere. Great job calling the story of the main event. All the aspects of it, ramping up the action down the stretch was really, really good.
Yeah. For the minuses, we got Brand Brattle talk all night. We went -2. It's all about brand supremacy. The one time a year that SmackDown and Raw compete in head-to-head competition. That was a tagline and branding of the show by the announcers. Not like we didn't just see Raw and SmackDown compete at Crown Jewel and Evolution, and so on and so forth. Graves says, speaking of Killer Instinct, as Tamina makes her entrance, some unfortunate timing there. Disjointed line delivery.
Runs in her blood.
Some disjointed line delivery by Cole, Renee, and Graves. It's especially bad in the last 2 matches. Like, they have these prepared lines they're supposed to deliver, almost like a script, and people are missing missing the cues, and it makes for a really unnatural commentary. So we went -2 there.
All right, so that's a -4 on the commentary. I took away that bonus point that we had given it by accident for atmosphere. So, again, right in line. It's been a weak year for commentary. It's not strong. All right, atmosphere, we give a point for Asuka's entrance, which is great. A point for the loud 205 chants. The crowd really got into the Cruiserweight match. I'm telling you, 205 Live was just great during this run. A point for the crowd being fully engaged and vibing during the Brand Survivor match. Added a lot to it, so +2 for that. And then the crowd being red hot for Charlotte's attack and fully engaged in that, so +2 for that as well.
Yeah. For our minuses, we've got the crowd being mostly dead throughout the opener until Sasha and Asuka start to fight. We got the crowd not being happy seeing Samoa Joe taken out a minute into the match.
Yeah, I mean, after his big title feud, he's out within a minute. It's like, what are we doing?
Yeah. The crowd is out on Rousey despite the big face run that she's been having. They're all in on Becky with the Becky chants during the match. And the crowd is kind of checked out for the main event, chanting boring, which, it might have been by design, but
come on,
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah, so it might have been out of fear too.
Right,
that he was just going to eat him up. But
all right, so that's a +1 for atmosphere. Notable moments, we give a point for the Authors of Pain debut, beating the Bar. It's a pretty big win. A point for Charlotte wrecking and injuring Ronda, and then a point for the dream match of Daniel Bryan versus Brock Lesnar.
For our minuses, we've got Alexa and Nia being friendly after their blood feud earlier in the season. Alexa cheering her on for winning. Drake Maverick, this is the infamous PP pants spot.
Oh God, yeah.
When Big Show goozles them. We got Samoa Joe being eliminated within a minute after dominating SmackDown for the last couple months and really bringing like this raw intensity and sense of danger whenever he's in the ring. And then Rousey walks on her own. Man, maybe we should have went -2 here. This was really bad. So that tremendous beatdown, the crowd is going crazy for Charlotte Flair. You get to see this different side of Charlotte. She's elevating her game, being challenged by Becky's, rise to prominence. And at the end of it all, you have to have Ronda Rousey walk out under her own power, the crowd completely boos all over it, and rightfully so. And then SmackDown getting swept.
They don't win a match.
The announcers even bring up as kind of like hey, SmackDown got completely dominated tonight.
Which is fine if it's going to lead to something, but I don't think it does. It's not like they get revenge. It's like just complete dismantling. So,
might be on mute.
Yep. No, am I? Can you hear me? Am I back? All right. So anyway, that ends up with a -2 for moments. So not great. Card structure, we give a point for starting with the classic Survivor Series match and upbeat women's entrances and showcase. That was cool. A point for the time that they gave to Rollins Nakamura to have that hidden gem. And then a point for the lack of title matches filling the card. On the surface, feels like a downer, but it's kind of a classic Survivor Series vibe. They never had title matches at Survivor Series. We've had a million pay-per-views and title matches. So I guess you could take one off and just do something different.
Yeah, they come close to like capturing like the All-Star Game kind of vibe that they're going for. For our minuses, we have the usual quick elimination spots. Shane having to be on the SmackDown team. It's always stupid, He should get somebody else in there. The Raw vs. SmackDown Survivor Series match could have been better, longer, and more intense with the talent in there. Too much focus again on Shane and Corbin. Ambrose is MIA after his big heel turn. We got Charlotte and Ronda Rousey forced into a DQ finish to protect both. Ronda should have just took a L. Brian just turned heel and wrestles as an underdog face all the main event.
Yeah, they should have waited for the heel turn. Maybe had him be a tweener when he beat AJ and then go full heel right after this, because it's definitely a weird setup.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly. I know they kind of course corrected on SmackDown after this and really get going, but it's weird in real time. And then SmackDown getting crushed head to head. It's a really bad look for your other show.
All right, so -4 for card structure. Rewatchability, not bad. R-Truth trying to figure out Raw versus SmackDown, what's going on. Miz hypes Marine 6 on DVD, and he says, "I'll get everyone a signed copy if we win." And Truth says, "Yeah, I want mine signed by Becky Lynch," which is funny. A point for Murphy shoving Ali off the top, and he flies all the way back into the barricade, which is cool. A point for the Ali Spanish fly off the announce table. A point for Charlotte snapping, destroying Ronda with a kendo stick, Pillmanizes her. That's all rewatchable, that whole fight. A point for the great Bryan to Lesnar big match entrances and intros, and a point for Lesnar's post-match selling an escape win, putting Bryan over even in a loss. So, it didn't feel like he just waxed him, right? It felt like dichotomy to the Braun match where he just destroyed him. This was much different.
I totally forgot about the Pillmanizing spot. She just walks away, like fixing her shorts all awkwardly. For our minuses, we got the awkward brand GM arguing with Steph, Corbin, and Shane, and Paige.
God, Paige, so many fucking authority elbows. This is during that time, right? Isn't this Fighting with My Family's coming out, I think. Paige, I think it's coming out soon.
And I gotta love those Shane O'Mac punches. We gave a -1 for those two.
God. All right, so +4 for rewatchability. We give one all-time match in Bryan and Lesnar, and that brings us to, I would say, a pretty disappointing 11.25, Marcus. I think the legend of the show, I expected it to finish higher, especially after I looked at my match grades. I'm like, okay, this is probably going to net out pretty well. Has some pretty good build, some rewatchability to it, but there was a lack of moments. The commentary was not good. The card structure was a mess. So that all just kind of added up to really ding it and put it down at 11.25. So when you slot that in, it puts it at 72 all time. So pretty low. That's out of 102 shows. It is just below Hell in a Cell 2011, just above Bad Blood 04, just above Fastlane 16. So, those are all throwaway shows. This is not a throwaway show. It's loaded with big time matches. But it goes to show on our scale. I think if this was a pure match quality ranking exercise, it would finish pretty high. But when you look at our scale, that factors everything top to bottom. It's just lacking in a lot of spots.
Yeah, when you add the context into the show, definitely dings, because I thought this was going to be like one of those like really, really great shows that we watched this season, and just with the formula and everything we include.
Right. I mean, like Hell in a Cell blowing it out of the water is like a surprise to me,
Yeah, and again, like there's just so much content during this time. I thought that Charlotte and Ronda went on like mid-show, so I was shocked to see like that was the semi-main event.
Yeah.
So just it's hard to remember everything that's going on during this.
That's part of the problem. It's like so much content, so many things happen. It's all forgettable in there. So, all right, let's read down our top 10 all-time shows, Marcus. Like I said, we now have 102. We already talked about the bottom, right? Crown Jewel and Greatest Royal Rumble. But let's get to our top 10. Our 10th best show of all time is Royal Rumble 2016 at 32 points.
Followed by number 9, WrestleMania 21 with a 33.5.
Number 8, SummerSlam 15 at 35.25.
Number 7 is the 2005 Royal Rumble with a 36.5.
Our 6th best show, WrestleMania 18 at 36.75.
A new entry into the top 5 is Evolution 2018 with a WAR of 38.
Tied for 4th and 3rd, SummerSlam 1999 and SummerSlam 1992 with 38.25. 92 gets a slight edge due to having the best match.
And number 2, my lord, is SummerSlam 2001 with a WAR of 39.
And our number 1 show of all time to date, Royal Rumble 2002, with a WAR score of 44. So it might be tough to top, Marcus. We'll see if anything pops up that passes it. But we are almost done, my friend, with this monstrous season. Just a handful of shows to go. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time. We're going to cover TLC 2018, as well as the Royal Rumble 2019. All right. So into a new calendar year as we start the home stretch to WrestleMania. So exciting there. All right. So that'll do us for us here tonight. Be sure to check us out on any podcast application. And like I said, on YouTube, we have tons of content on both. Some simulcast, some is individualized. So be sure to subscribe to both. Follow us on social media and North South Connection. Until then, live yourself and your life above replacement level. I'm done. We're out. That's it. Take care. Pass the test.